Welcome back. We are now hearing about Bitcoin profit taking is underway as big whales continue to sell off their coins. Now, I'm going to be breaking down the data that shows that this is true. This is something we've been talking about on this channel for at least a month or two now, that we are going to see a rotation out of Bitcoin and into alternative currencies like Internet Computer Protocol, Ethereum, and more. And Trump is going all in, the Trump family is going all in, and Coinbase is showing us data that solidifies the thesis that we are going to rotate out of Bitcoin and into altcoins like Ethereum and Internet Computer Protocol and many more. Those are just two examples I'm using because we're going to be talking about them in today's video. But there's a lot going on in the crypto markets and a lot that's telling me that my thesis and what we've been talking about for months on this channel is very accurate. And so let's go on the journey in today's video and understand why the Bitcoin trade might be over, not forever, but for now in this cycle, as we are now in the month 13 or 14 since the Bitcoin halving occurred in 2024. And you guys know, historically, based on the data that we see, you could pull up the halving tracker yourself. I'll pull it up for you, actually. The halving tracker shows that in the last two cycles, this green line and this blue line, that Bitcoin topped approximately 12 to 18 months, closer to the 18-month time frame, after the Bitcoin halving occurred. And so this is where we are today when I'm recording this video in the middle of 2025. And so this gives us about maybe 100 to 150 days until we're at the top of the market, which is less than 6 months away. And so what are the indicators that we're looking at? That's what we're going to be discussing. We're also going to be talking about the rotation. What is going on with Internet Computer? They're now releasing new AI functionality. Ethereum is getting a lot of excitement. And let's look at the data on chain as well to understand what in the crypto is going on here. And by the way, if you're new to this channel, make sure you're subscribed to the channel. It's free to do. All you got to do is click subscribe. We upload every single day to bring you the latest happening in the financial world, and also give this video a free thumbs up because, as you guys know, crypto is not free, but thumbs up, they're always free. You could also become a channel member by clicking the join button down below here on YouTube. But anyway, Bitcoin bull, I would say Bitcoin maximalist and expert Saifedean Ammous says Bitcoin is on very shaky ground as new Bitcoin price top is nearing. And what have I been saying? I mean, go to my channel, go to youtube.com/thecryptoviser. And I have posted videos recently in the last month or two, like I said, that says we are close to the top of the market. And I'm getting so much hate. Cryptoviser, you don't know what you're talking about. We're not at the top of the market. There's so much bullishness. And I'm not saying there's not. There's a lot of, as this video says, big red flags in the market. So let's understand a little bit more about this. Bitcoin is approaching very shaky ground as it prepares its next blow-off top, according to author and educator Saifedean Ammous. Speaking at the Coin Stories podcast, he said the Bitcoin on June 3rd, he warned that the Bitcoin bull market was coming to an end. Well. Isn't this what I've been saying for months now? Yes. Discussing the phenomena such as institutional buyers and corporate treasuries, he stressed that regardless of market maturity, the Bitcoin to USD chart could crash up to 80% during its come down from a bull market peak. He said, I just hope my message out there to everybody in this business is Bitcoin has done -70 and -80% before, and it can do it again. He said, if your business model cannot handle an 80% drop, Bitcoin drawdown, rework your business model right now, because I think we're getting toward the very shaky ground of the top and the fall from it. Now, I'm sure he's going to get a lot of hate for this, but he explained that in prior price cycles, the long-term top appeared between 1 year and 18 months after the last block subsidy halving event. Well. Who has been saying this for months? Right here, yours truly, the Cryptoviser. And by the way, in my videos, I'm not saying the market is over, right? You can see, like, go watch these videos with, the Bitcoin top, cycles broken, top signals. Look at these videos, watch them. Because in these videos, I talk to you about that we may not be at the top of the market, but nobody's going to know we're at the top of the market until after we're at the top of the market. You can't see the top of the market at the top of the market. I mean, you could see signals that were there, but you don't actually know. You can't confirm it's the top until after the top hits, until you're lower. And so, what are some of the signals? Well, I'm going to show you. I'm also going to show you trading data directly from Coinbase that supports this thesis that the Bitcoin trade is over. By the way, a lot of people freak out about this also because they're like, well, if the Bitcoin trade's over, crypto is going to go down. Well, yeah, eventually we will go into a bear market or a corrective phase as we have done in the beginning of 2025. But even further than that, even though some coins have come down, I mean, Solana is down 50% already from its all-time record high, $260. And it went down to about $120. So it did a 50% drop just in the first 6 months of 2025. And so to think that it can't go higher and then drop into 80% again, that would be foolish. It would be really foolish. But the point here is that think about the market as a roller coaster, right? You have ups and downs and ups and downs and ups and downs. And so if Bitcoin had its up and it's going to go into the down position, where is that money going to rotate into? Well, probably some of the other coins that we're going to be talking about in today's video. Bitcoin profit taking is underway as big whales continue their sell-off. And again, this is based on on-chain data. Large Bitcoin holders have been steadily taking profits after the crypto recently hit a new peak, continuing a years-long trend of the crypto big whales cashing out. Analyst Willy Woo posted on X saying that big whales with over 10,000 Bitcoin have been selling since 2017, answering the question of who is selling the crypto when institutions and sovereigns are racing to buy billions of Bitcoin. He said most of those coins were bought between $0 and $700 and held for 8 to 16 years. The chart shows that the supply held by whale entities with a balance between 10,000 and 100,000 Bitcoin has been in steady decline for the past 8 years. During that period, the amount of Bitcoin held by entities has fallen around 40% from 2.7 million to around 1.6 million Bitcoin. You can see that on the chart right here. Now, you may be asking, but Cryptoviser, how is that possible when Wall Street keeps buying and buying and buying and buying and buying? Excellent question. Let's get to the answer. Now, before we get to the Trump stuff, I wanted to show you, maybe I didn't pull it up on this video, or I did. So I just didn't put it in order. So that is the big whales are selling. So people are saying, but Cryptoviser, if Wall Street keeps buying, how come we're not seeing the price move up? And this is a good question. First of all, the price has moved up. We went from $15,000 Bitcoin to 105,000, 110,000, right? It's almost a 10x. 8x, 9x, whatever. Still a good number. But this is the key. Tether moves $4 billion in Bitcoin to 21 Capital. Tether and Bitfinex moved about $4 billion in Bitcoin to Jack Mallers' 21 Capital, now the third largest corporate Bitcoin holder after Strategy and Marathon Digital. And so we heard about Jack Mallers' company, that they're going to be a Bitcoin treasury company, that they're raising this money from Tether and Bitfinex and SoftBank and all these different partners who are going to, quote unquote, buy Bitcoin, but they didn't actually buy Bitcoin. And this is the key here of why people are not realizing what the hell is going on. Now, granted, if I sell my Bitcoin and you buy Bitcoin on the open market, it's just moving the Bitcoin from my wallet to your wallet, right? But you're also trading with dollars or fiat. In this case, what is going on here is 21 Capital is getting all this Bitcoin that they're technically buying, quote unquote, but they're not really buying it. They're just giving shares of the company to Tether and Bitfinex in exchange for the Bitcoin. So technically it is a sale, but it's just movement of the Bitcoin from Tether's wallet into 21 Capital's wallet. But Tether didn't lose anything because now they own all these shares in the company that technically owns the underlying Bitcoin in those shares. And so they didn't technically sell anything. The whole idea behind buying and selling crypto and the price moving higher is that the supply is limited. In this type of transaction, the supply is not limited. In fact, you're not even really tapping the supply because you're just moving it from one entity to another, right? It's the same way that like a parent let's say, who transfers a home to their child, right? They're not necessarily. I mean, it may be considered a sale legally, but they're not really exchanging money, right? They could pass it to them for $1 technically, right? Does that mean every house on the block is only worth $1? No, but it just means that the supply and demand are not impacted by this sale. And so when we think about MicroStrategy, they've been purchasing billions of billions of billions of billions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, and the price has moved, but not really that much, right? And I keep wondering, where is all of this liquidity coming from? Well, they could be working with private buyers or private sellers. Like, think about like the Winklevoss twins, right? They've had, I mean, potentially hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin that they own. They've created all these businesses, and now maybe they're offloading some of the Bitcoin. Maybe other entities that we didn't know that were holding Bitcoin are just offloading their Bitcoin that they've held. Maybe governments, like we heard the government of Bhutan, they mine Bitcoin and they've been selling some of their Bitcoin at these all-time highs. And so they're looking at that and they're selling it. By the way, we have on-chain data to show you this. But before we go there, I want to kind of tap into Ethereum for a quick minute. First of all, we're seeing a lot of fake news and fake launches. Eric Trump posted this, saying this project is not authorized by Trump. Magic Eden, I would be extremely careful using the Trump name in a project that has not been approved and is unknown to anyone in the Trump organization. And this is in response to this quote unquote Trump wallet that is coming soon, Magic Eden posted. And I saw it all over social media and everyone's saying, oh, Trump is launching a wallet, Trump is launching a wallet. But the Trumps are saying they're not launching a wallet. And so if you look at where Magic Eden is, I mean, you could see their post. It says, posts are not intended for US or UK audiences. And from my understanding, Magic Eden is based in Hong Kong, which is China, effectively. And so I don't know that they care about what the Trumps think. And I don't know that there's any legal recourse that the Trumps will be able to take based on that. But maybe they will. But the bottom line here is that these other platforms, they're using the fake news or fake launches or just kind of the hype of the cycle to confuse people and think that, Trumps are launching a wallet. This effectively is fake news. And it's not the only place that we've seen this fake news. But while we're on the Trump topic, I want you guys to understand where they stand on Bitcoin and, more importantly, DeFi. Because Bitcoin is the store of value and it's the granddaddy of crypto. But really Ethereum is where people are building and where essentially the banks are going to lose. And I want you guys to understand where the Trumps, why they're so involved in crypto and DeFi. It's because they were debanked. And so listen to what he says here, because this tells me where the rotation is going to be as we potentially are going to, see Bitcoin dominance fall, or just the rotation out of Bitcoin into some of these altcoins. Let's listen to what he says here. And remember, don't forget to give this video a free thumbs up. We got a lot more to talk about. We're going to be going into some of the internet computer news. Especially, you guys know AI has just launched on Internet Computer, a new product. And we got to talk about it. But before we go there, let's listen to Donald Trump Jr., sorry.
We did these things. The reason we got into crypto, and we're all in on crypto, and we're doing American Bitcoin. And
by the way, the lead-up question to this was, is it bad that Trump launched the meme coin? Is he trying to get rich off of these meme coins? And right before this part of the clip, Trump Jr. says that the meme coin was launched before he became president, and now that he's president, pay attention.
He did these things. The reason we got into crypto, and we're all in on crypto, and we're doing American Bitcoin, and we have World Liberty Finance and USD1, was because there was a time, and probably I'd been on this show, where I could call any single banker in New York City. They'd pick up the phone. I'd be able to get a loan for whatever real estate project I was doing across the street. Then we got into politics, and all of a sudden, they wouldn't take your call. Right. You couldn't get financing. We were debanked. And what I realized, and my brother realized, because we were the recipients of every subpoena imaginable, was that you know what, we were actually just the top of this sort of pyramid scheme that we didn't realize we were a part of, that the financial system was totally undemocratized. Because we had a certain balance sheet and whatever, we could kind of do whatever we wanted. The regular guy was messed up. Now we were all of a sudden in the shoes of the regular guy that wouldn't be able to take advantage of the markets. And we said, what's the solution for that?
Now, before we go on, I want you to pay attention. This is very powerful because this goes into my thesis that there's the potential that, especially with everything that happened with Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency that Elon Musk was helping out with. Now Elon has left Doge and is also kind of really not happy with the big, beautiful spending bill that they're talking about because it actually adds more to the deficit. And he's like, this kind of undoes all the savings that we made. And so as a country, we're headed towards bankruptcy. And you just heard, this is the key, guys. This is where we have to kind of pick apart what's going on in the crypto space, in the financial space, and figure out where this is going. He just said that the banking system, the financial system we're in, is a Ponzi scheme. I mean, how is the banking ecosystem going to come back from that? And this is not just like he's saying this, like this is what the Trump organization believes. And a lot of people in crypto believe. And really the administration has seen and been impacted by. And so it seems like we are going to see an acceleration of the devaluation of the dollar. And that means more money printing. Guys, remember in 2020, they printed $4 trillion in that bill right after they shut down the global economy. And a lot of this was because companies around the world, but specifically US companies, said that they were going to be bankrupt within a week, within a month. And that was a big eye-opener for me and a lot of you probably who were watching the channel at the time, because it let us know none of these companies had rainy day funds. None of them had any assets to protect them from that kind of downfall. It was like all of the airlines were going to completely just shut down and go bankrupt if they didn't they were telling the government, like, you have to give us billions of dollars, otherwise we're going bankrupt tomorrow, like within a week or whatever it was. And they printed $4 trillion. And for me, I thought they were going to print maybe 100 billion, maybe 80 billion. Because remember, people who were asking previous to that for universal health care, the US said we can't afford it. It would cost $80 billion a year to have universal health care in the US, approximately. And this was before the pandemic. That was the numbers that I remember they were saying. So if they said, we couldn't afford $80 billion, and now they're printing $4 trillion just to keep companies level, just to keep them open. And it's like, wait, all these airlines, they each made $10 billion in profit every year, each of them, for the last 10 years. And they don't have any of that money? What did they do with it? They bought back their stock, they gave dividends, they got rid of all the extra money. And they had nothing. And that was from a company perspective. Think about the average American. They printed $4 trillion. And so the next print, it's going to be even more than that. And the print after that is going to be even more than that. And the print after that, more than that. How do we get out of that? The only way is by creating a new currency that's potentially backed by other things. And this is maybe what they're going to be doing from a government perspective, right? Maybe the digital dollar, these stable coins, are going to have to be backed by physical dollars, which may also be backed by currencies. I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. Let's continue listening in.
The answer is crypto. These decentralized platforms where you're not beholden to this, where you create efficiencies. As a guy that did real estate, why am I paying points in and out for title insurance that could be done on the blockchain? So we got into crypto not because it was like, hey, this is the next cool thing. We got into it out of necessity. We got into it because we understood just how quickly we could be turned off, even as an incredible developer from New York City. I mean, I don't think anyone would argue that we didn't change the skyline of New York City, but that disappeared in an instant. I mean, we're getting sued by the New York State AG, $500 million fees for paying back loans on time with interest. These aren't, fair markets. There's nothing egalitarian about any of that. So we actually, as innovators, as people who understand these things, we went all in on a concept that makes total sense because we'd actually been the recipient of how quickly that can be shut off.
I don't. I mean, if you can look at these things non-emotionally and non-politically, like look at it just as it is what it is. Like that's what we try to do on this channel, right? This is not a political channel, but you have to take the emotion out of it, right? You have to. There's people that I talk to, and they were very pro crypto, and now they're like, well, they want to remove regulations. I'm like, yeah, because they want to expand this ecosystem of crypto. Yeah, but we need regulations. I'm like, why? They didn't save us from anything from FTX. They didn't save us from Celsius, Voyager, Three Arrows Capital, BlockFi, all this other stuff. It just creates barriers. And a lot of what we saw was the barriers were just to keep control in the banking hands. And I that's bad for everybody unless you're a multi-billionaire or the bankers. And so when I hear this, again, not taking sides, not saying I agree or disagree, but how can you hear that and say, oh yeah, they're not going to push this forward. They're not going to move forward very aggressively in crypto as an administration, as a country, and as, private business. This is the key, guys. Again, you could dislike the family as much as you want, the president, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, do you want to get rich or do you want to be emotional, right? And so this is the same thing when people say, oh, Cryptoviser, Bitcoin is not topped out. I mean, look at all these companies buying Bitcoin. It's like, well, first of all, we know they're not buying because they're just moving the coins from one wallet to another and saying they bought it, but they didn't really buy anything. It's not affecting the supply demand. But also, like, the rest of the market is going to run at some point, we would assume. And so for that to happen, some of the spotlight needs to come off of Bitcoin, the same way that a lot of the spotlight has come off Solana since the meme coin fiasco. But a lot of people will look at this and say, no, I don't agree with them. So, I don't want to be part of it. It's like, again, do you want to get rich or do you want to be right? I don't care if I'm wrong about an investment, as long as I'm right about the right investment, right? And I've said that before. Like, I'm not mad that I didn't buy Solana. I do believe Solana was built by and for the billionaires. That has not changed. But I was wrong about the price movement of the coin. But that doesn't take away any of the risk that I believe there was and still believe that there is with Solana being owned by so many billionaires. By the way, it's not just Trump. I don't know why I keep saying Eric Trump. Trump Jr. saying this. Robert Kiyosaki said, do not say I didn't warn anybody. By the way, he posted this June 1 of 2025. He said, as I predicted in my Rich Dad's Prophecy book, 2013, the biggest crash in history is coming. He said, I'm afraid the crash time is now and through the summer. Well, we're in the summer. He said, unfortunately, millions, especially his generation of boomers, will be wiped out when the stock market and bond markets crash. The good news is millions who are proactive may become extremely rich. And as you know, I want you to be one of those who become very rich. This is key, guys. Taking out the emotions, just understanding how these markets are going to work. He said, over this summer, as stock, bonds, and real estate markets crash, billions will rush into gold, silver, and Bitcoin. The biggest bargain today, he says, is silver. In 2025, silver made 3x. The better news is silver is still 60% under all-time highs, still about $35, while gold and Bitcoin are near at all-time highs. He said tomorrow he's going to go to his local gold and silver dealer and trading fake money for real silver, meaning buying the gold and silver with dollars. Not ETFs, the biggest bargain today. Silver is priced around $35 an ounce, which means that almost everyone anywhere in the world has a chance to grow richer while millions grow poorer. What are you going to do? Grow richer or poorer? Please choose to get richer. Take care. Now, again, I don't agree with everything Robert Kiyosaki says, but I want you to take what you can from it, right? You may not agree with him in many senses, right? I don't necessarily think we're going to see a major stock market crash. I do think that we're going to have like a corrective, we're going to have volatility and potentially major downside. But, you know, the stock market considers 5% moves a big move. Crypto, we consider like 60% moves big moves, right? So, but the point of this is, as the markets go higher, whether it's stocks, whether it's Bitcoin or whatever, other markets are going to drop, right? We're already starting to see the cracks in real estate. I've told you guys on this channel, I've been following real estate all over the country. And it's very interesting to see the different areas of the country that have homes on the market for over a year. And they bring it down $10,000, $4,000. I've even seen like $1,000 reductions. Like they're selling a home that was purchased in 1960, and now 70 years later they're trying to sell it with the same wallpaper that it had when they purchased it 70 years ago, and they're trying to sell it for over $1 million. It's like, even if the neighbor sold their home for $1 million, your home is not worth $1 million when you haven't even updated the fucking wallpaper in 70 freaking years, right? But a lot of boomers, they're not giving it up. And a lot of boomer families, they're like, no, we'll just wait for the market. And it's like, you're waiting for the market as the market continues to drop, and more inventory is coming on the market, and less people are buying, and all of that together, yeah. We're seeing real estate markets coming down, stock and bond markets. We've already heard from Jamie Dimon, the CEO of JP Morgan Chase, saying it's not a matter of if the bond market's going to crack. It will crack. But what is the Federal Reserve going to do about it? So this goes back to, do you want to be emotional about things, or do you want to grow rich? Because there's two ways to go about it. You can grow rich or you can grow poor. And if you're in dollars, you're growing poorer, period. I've talked to people who they say, well, I feel safer in cash. And I get that, right? I talked to somebody recently about their retirement account, and they said that they're all in cash. I'm like, well, that's not a retirement account. That's a dwindling account because the dollar's being devalued. They're like, yeah, but I think it's safer. I'm like, but you're not even close to retirement. Like, you should be taking those risks now, right? A lot of people don't get it. They don't get it, and they don't understand how the dollar is going to be making them poorer. And by the way, I don't necessarily agree with his silver prediction. We've been hearing for years that silver is going to be going up, and it literally hasn't. So I don't know. I'm looking at more sure things. I think crypto is more sure than silver going up, right? I mean, nobody is walking around trading silver. Anyway, moving right along and going into some of the data that I just told you I was going to show you. And then we're going to kind of move a little bit more into Ethereum and Internet Computer, because I want you guys to understand where my thesis on this whole thing is. Now, if you go to Coinbase today, they have new stats that you can actually look at that can give you a little bit more insight into what the market is doing. Not saying, doing. And so if we look at Bitcoin, going in line with Bitcoin potentially being at the all-time record high and going to be taking a drop, what you can see here is the buyer ratio here is 76%. But this is down 21%. There's 65,000 buyers and 25,000 sellers. Trading is down 70%, right? And by the way, I mean, you could pull this up any day and it may be different, right? And so what you want to look for is the buyers versus sellers. Last week, we had a lot more sellers than buyers here. If we look at Ethereum, I think I have it up here. Yeah, here we go. Ethereum, 30,000 buyers, 13,000 sellers. This is down 80%. 80% over one day or 1 week. I don't know. It doesn't say. I guess it's 24 hours. Oh, 24 hours. So you have buyers are down 80% in the last 24 hours. I wish this showed a little bit like more, like maybe a week long. But if you follow these metrics, you can see where they're buying and where they're selling. And what I've seen over the last couple of weeks is a lot of more selling in Bitcoin and a lot more buying in Ethereum and Ethereum adjacent coins like layer 2s and stuff like that. But meanwhile, we're still getting, the big investors of the world like Grant Cardone predicting $500,000 Bitcoin. Let's listen to what he says.
I think before the end of this year, we see 250. We touch 250, and then it'll pull back to like the 140s.
Yeah, and that's gonna be the craziest pullback. Bitcoin pulling back to 100.
It'd be insane. But you know, I think we see $500,000 Bitcoin in the next 2 to 3 years.
I agree.
2 to 3 years, right? So we're in 2025, 3 years will be 2028. It's very possible in 2028 because that is going to be the next Bitcoin halving cycle and election cycle. But here's the deal, 250,000 Bitcoin, I don't think so. I mean, look at how much resistance we have at $110,000. And you think that we're going to $250,000? And again, what is this based on? People are going to say, well, Cryptoviser, institutions are buying. And it's like, yeah, but the whales are selling. And what institutions are really buying, right? Michael Saylor's MicroStrategy won't even release proof of reserves. And the companies that are producing the proof of reserves, like Jack Mallers 21, they're just getting money, the Bitcoin moved from their other investors. It's not actually being purchased per se. And by the way, another indicator we're potentially at the top is MicroStrategy just created another debt instrument. So now they have 3 debt instruments, Strike, Strife, and Stride, where they're issuing shares to create debt to then go buy Bitcoin. And they also have shares that they can sell in the open market to raise money to also buy Bitcoin. So they have 4 money-raising tactics, which are effectively all debt or dilution to buy more Bitcoin. To me, it seems MicroStrategy is trying to become too big to fail, where if there is some kind of situation in the Bitcoin or crypto markets and they go below their dollar cost average, which is currently around $70,000, what would happen, right? What if we go down to $20,000? What would happen to MicroStrategy? What would happen in the fear of the market? Would they be forced to sell some of the Bitcoin? Would their stock price go into a negative premium? Like, these are all questions we have to ask because they're buying Bitcoin highly levered. And so this is exit liquidity to early investors who want to make money. They want to get richer, not poorer, as Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Robert Kiyosaki says, right? Get richer, not poorer. And so understanding that dynamic, that they're buying all of this highly levered on debt, and potentially there's going to be a situation in a bear market with MicroStrategy and all these debt instruments. A lot of people are going to make a lot of money on it, but you have to understand how it operates so that you can. And that brings us to some other charts. This user said, this is looking like a longer and more measured Bitcoin cycle than priors. And he pulled up Galaxy Research's Bitcoin price appreciation since the cycle low. Now, by the way, you can literally find any metric to confirm your thesis, right? So if you think that we're going to have an extended cycle, just pull up the Bitcoin appreciation since the cycle low chart. But this chart doesn't really say anything besides when we hit the cycle low and where we are since then. This doesn't say that we're going to have a longer cycle than normal because the cycle is the cycle, right? We have a Bitcoin halving. That is the cycle. Bitcoin halving to Bitcoin halving every 4 years or so. And so using other metrics and saying, oh, well, the cycle is different this time. It's like, is it really? Is it really? Well, the answer to that is no. You can see that here on the Bitcoin halving tracker. This is where we are. We're at just 400 days after the Bitcoin halving. And you can see historically the Bitcoin peak, at least based on the last 2 cycles, is usually between 12 and 18 months. And we're in this time frame right now, which would put us less than 6 months away from the top of the market. And I think it's going to be happening within the next 90 days from when I'm recording this video, beginning of June. So that would be all of June, all of July, all of August. So probably around August, September, we'll be at the top. And again, you want to be out before the top. And how do you be out? Well, guys, the billionaires, they're looking for exit liquidity. When Wall Street is buying the Bitcoin, that is exit liquidity. When MicroStrategy is buying Bitcoin with debt, that is exit liquidity. Because once the exit liquidity dries up, you can't sell at those prices because the price goes down. And then you may not be able to sell there and it goes down. And this is where we can drop 40, 50, 60, 70, 80% in a very short period of time because there's no liquidity coming in for whatever reasons, right? They have enough Bitcoin. They don't want to buy more Bitcoin. They're going into other investments. The money dried up. People already took their profits and moved on. Like, there's so many different potential reasons for that. And so you have to understand this to understand where the money is then going to go. By the way, so you can see here, this person, Cyclop, no brain flip on X, shows the Bitcoin cycles 2013 saying it was 9 months and the bear market was 38 months. 2017 said the bull market was 10 months, bear market was 33 months. Last cycle, 2021, they said the bull market was 12 months, bear market was 27 months. And now in 2024, he said we're in the 15th month. It's like, wait, what? First of all, the 2021 bull market was not 12 months, it was 18 months. And again, you can see that right here on the Bitcoin halving tracker. We started the uptrend right around the Bitcoin halving in about May of 2020. And then the uptrend started in like maybe June or July of 2020 and went all the way into the next year. And so again, people are looking at this cycles based on like different dates and different times and different, kind of just try to confirm what their belief about the market is. And I don't like to believe anything about the market. I like to understand what the data actually shows about the market. And this is the only chart that I have seen that is the clearest explanation of how the cycles operate. Not, when the bull market started, because when did the bull market start? Or people will say, oh, well, since the bear market lows, these cycle lows, look at how high we've come. And it's like, okay, but that doesn't show us where the market cycle is. And this chart shows us days after the halving. So the halving is a set time frame every single 4 years, right? Sometimes it happens, a month earlier or whatever. It's based on block time. But this tells us like the Bitcoin halving is a clear event that's going to occur around every 4 years that we can metric where the cycle is. And so far in the first 3 cycles, it's fairly in line. And definitely the last 2 cycles, the time frames for the cycle movement is very in line. And I think we're going to be following that this cycle. There'll still be some people who say, no, Cryptoviser, that's not happening. Well, again, into the rotation into other cryptos. Remember, Pump Fun, this was the I guess you can call it meme coin casino on Solana. Well, now Pump Fun is planning to a $1 billion token sale with their new coin being fully diluted at $4 billion. Adam Cochran, who is a narrator of the crypto markets, I guess you could say, he said, that's how you know the meme coin trench narrative is finally dead. They infinite extracted on fees, said they wouldn't do a token. Now fees dry up and they're trying to do a massive token sale to exit. Because again, nobody knows when the end of the cycle is. And so if you're not out before the end of the cycle, you have to look for other ways to make more money. Guys, this is the same thing that MicroStrategy is doing. MicroStrategy has, where's the post? They have Strike, Strife, and now they have Stride. So they had Strike, they're not getting enough liquidity from it, so they're going to Strife, not getting enough liquidity from it, they go to Stride. They're going to keep diluting. They're looking for other avenues to get cash. But once the money dries up, the narrative is dead. The same thing for meme coins, right? Meme coins, Solana. It's like, well, Solana revenue has come down 97% within 1 month after the meme coin fiasco in the beginning of 2025. 97% drop. That is not sustainable and it has never recovered, right? And so that narrative, that liquidity is gone. It's gone. And so the only way that they can try to get more money and more liquidity is by launching a coin worth $4 billion. For a meme coin DEX, effectively. And so let's look at the other coins at $4 billion and below. So BitTensor, which I'm not a fan of, lower than $4 billion. Aptos, lower than $4 billion. Near Protocol, lower than $4 billion. Internet Computer, which just released on-chain AI, under $1 billion. Under $4 billion. So you're telling me that a meme coin platform is higher valuation than Internet Computer, which has live AI on chain with compute power capabilities. Like, not happening. And so that's going to be a pump and dump when that coin does launch. But it just tells us where we are in the cycle, the rotation out of Solana, out of the meme coins, and out of Bitcoin. and they're going to start rotating. And I believe we're going to start to see this rotation into these coins that have been underperforming or are just not at the level that they're at. One of those is Ethereum, Polygon. This guy Lutz on ETH. He's also CEO of Aragon Project. He said, we've made a huge effort to change the existing paradigm against strong headwinds, but we're getting there. Aragon's roadmap is based on Vitalik's 3 suggestions about 1, multi-level structures, 2, privacy with ZK Mackie, and 3 is AI. And one of the narratives we've been talking about a lot is AI. But to what we were showing you guys a little bit earlier in the video, you know, DeFi lives on Ethereum. DeFi lives on Polygon. And the stable coins, the regulated stable coins in the United States at least, they also do as well. And so we are going to see this transition, I believe, into some of these altcoins like Ethereum. And by the way, Joe Lubin has just, started a company, or they're going to be merging a company. I think it's called SharpLink, where they're going to be an Ethereum acquisition company. And he posted this in response to Ryan Berkman's post. He's an Ethereum community member and ETH investor. He said, advocating for your own token is a superpower. Look how far ghost chains get on token hype alone. XRP, ADA are trash, grade layer ones with combined fully diluted value of $257 billion. Ethereum has begun to tell its own story. Few understand how big an impact this will have. And he's alluding to the fact that Ethereum has just recently kind of rebranded, changed their leadership at Ethereum's foundation, and are also really kind of reimagining the way that they're going to market and talk about these coins. And so he said, you know, XRP and ADA are trash grade layer ones with a combined $257 billion. And that's because these communities advocate for their coin. You know, XRP, there was just an XRP conference in Vegas after the Bitcoin conference. And I mean, if you saw what happened there, guys, there were a lot of people. There's still a lot of people who are so bullish on XRP and Ripple. And it's like they are selling their coins on the open market so that they can raise money to fund their operations. And their operations don't necessarily include the use of XRP. This is something I don't get from an investor standpoint, but they're doing it, right? Cardano, Cardano's still talking about getting bridges to other chains on their blockchain. Cardano still has no stable coins because they stopped that conversation about USDC and Tether integrations years ago. Go look at my videos, type in the Cryptoviser, USDC, Cardano. Your mind will be blown because I've been talking about this for years, and Cardano is still, to this day, no, we have our own stable coins. They're great. Everybody loves them. First of all, nobody's using them. They're not regulated. They have no connections to other chains. It's completely walled garden blockchain that really nobody's using. XRP, they do have payment rails, but they don't have DeFi. They don't have interoperability. They don't have stable coins besides their own stable coin. And this is a problem. But at the end of the day, none of that seems to matter, right? That is the very interesting part because they advocate for their ecosystem. And that's what Ethereum seems to be starting to do because they realize they need to. Joe Lubin responded to that post and said, it's a bit like Google developing so much bleeding edge AI for years and sitting on so much talent and capabilities. It took OpenAI, who had little to lose compared to Google, to create a sense of urgency and also demonstrate that though the tech will be embarrassing at times, the time was now to apply pressures of going mainstream to hone it. The Ethereum ecosystem has been heads down building layer after layer of enabling tech and scaling it for an epic decentralized future. It took a breakout from Big Brother Bitcoin and some nipping at our heels from Little Bro Solana to alert and orient the massive Ethereum ecosystem to reprioritize, return to firing on all cylinders, and kick in the afterburners. Ethereum is on fire like never before. We are about to onboard TradFi to Ethereum DeFi. Now, this is Joe Lubin, the founder and I think CEO of Consensus, now also chairman of SharpLink, which is going to be Ethereum treasury company on the stock exchange. Guys, do you really think that he's saying we're about to onboard TradFi to Ethereum DeFi, if he doesn't know that, I mean, he is behind Consensus, which is the main developer of Ethereum. Consensus was gifted JP Morgan's blockchain. I forgot what it was called. I don't remember what it's called, but they made a blockchain and they gave it to Consensus, and JP Morgan is funding Consensus. They're one of the main funders of Consensus, at least historically they've been. I mean, guys, this should be so freaking clear that Ethereum is the next trade, the rotation trade when it comes to Bitcoin. If Bitcoin starts to drop, people are going to be looking for better movement. And again, this is where you need to lead the market, not lag the market. Once mainstream crypto or media are talking about this and all the million plus accounts on YouTube or X or Instagram are talking about Ethereum, the trade would already have been done, right? I've been telling you for months, we are going to rotate out of Bitcoin into these other altcoins. And I'm laying it out in this video for you. 2 months from now, 1 month from now, you're going to come back on the same video and say, Cryptoviser, you were so right. I should have been watching your videos. Maybe I'll be wrong. That's possible. But based on all of this, it looks like I'm going to be correct. And that brings us to Internet Computer. We just heard that Internet Computer got institutional support for custody and staking on BitGo, or staking is coming, but they're going to have it eventually. This is huge for institutional inflows on Internet Computer. And this, as the ICP ecosystem in Dfinity, there's Dominic, the founder of Internet Computer and the chief scientist at Dfinity Foundation, or I should say Dfinity, which is the company behind the development of Internet Computer Protocol. They just had a conference at the beginning of June, and basically they unveiled their self-writing internet. Now, Internet Computer and ICP have been talking about this self-writing internet for quite a while. And I'm not going to get into all the details on this video because, I mean, there's just so much to get into. And I have a lot of other content on it. Just type in the Cryptoviser ICP right here on YouTube, or go to my channel and you'll be able to see those videos. But Real Vision is now highlighting what's going on with Internet Computer. Again, this is a lagging indicator. The leading indicator was the Cryptoviser talking about on this channel months ago, last year. The year before that, we've been talking about Internet Computer. Really, from a bullish standpoint, since they launched their first AI capabilities back in 2024. Now we're in 2025. And they just launched even more. And look at all of the attention that is being focused on Internet Computer Protocol. This could potentially be one of the most bullish moves in the history of crypto. Potentially, because they're the only blockchain ecosystem that can run AI and AI compute all within the network. The only one. The only blockchain. There's a lot of other blockchains that say, oh, we're going to do AI. We do AI. We love AI. They're talking about what ifs, not what is. Because AI is only on the Internet Computer. That's what is. Anyway, Real Vision, which we know is Raoul Pal's media company, they said crypto narratives are engineered and the price is bait. Projects use influencers, insider-owned media, and price manipulation to manufacture belief in their tokens. Well, isn't that what we just heard about what Ethereum is doing? Let's listen to what Dominic says here in the video. And again, at the end of the day, I do somewhat agree with this, right? We talk about the fundamentals of these technologies on this channel. And Internet Computer, while the price may not be performing where you want it or where I want it, right? Just remember, Internet Computer currently, when I'm recording this video, middle of 2025, is worth $2.8 billion market cap, okay? $2.8 billion. Pump.fun, which is a meme coin casino, is launching a coin worth 30% more than Internet Computer is, just to trade meme coins. PP coin. Like, are you going to be using that platform, or are you going to be using Internet Computer platform? Let's listen to what Dominic says here.
you can put your token at a certain price for long enough that people start seeing that price as social consensus. And so you can kind of create social consensus by financially engineering the price. Human beings are very driven by social proof. And what's the ultimate measure of social proof? Price on a market. The real
By the way, I have to not play the audio on this because there's music. So I'm going to be narrating what Dominic is saying. He said the real game in crypto today, for those more interested in the token being the price, is you create this amazing narrative. You promote that through influencers, AstroTurf accounts, and crypto press that's owned by your own investors and all this stuff. And then that work in conjunction with this financial engineering, because it wouldn't work unless the price was kind of going up in these steps. But when you move the price like that, the market participants, they see the price movement as validation, social validation of the narratives they're hearing. And these projects tend to establish like a base price, huge market cap, where people think that's justified by what's going on with the project and this incredible technology and narrative that describes where it's going to go. But actually, the crazy thing is that oftentimes these narratives are just narratives. And really, a lot of all tech today are nothing more than meme coins. Where is the large insider shares? So yeah, guys, that's literally what's happening. I mean, we just showed you that's what the Ethereum ecosystem is talking about. And so we're seeing this kind of merger of the altcoin ecosystems that realize they need to produce and they need to effectively promote their own coins and their own technologies. And that's what we're seeing Ethereum doing right now. We're seeing Polygon doing that right now. We're seeing Internet Computer doing that right now. We're seeing Hedera doing that right now. The stable coins are doing that right now. There's a lot of coins that are not. There are a lot of coins. I would say even Sui is doing that right now. There's a lot of coins that are not. And these coins that are not doing that are going to fall into oblivion on the top crypto market charts, because we've covered this over and over tirelessly. I almost need another break from YouTube because I'm tired of talking about the same thing over and over and over. But there's a lot of coins here that have no connectivity to DeFi. They have no connectivity to other chains. They have no native stable coins on them. They have no regulated stable coins on them. They have no, AI functionality. There's just nothing there. But the narrative is keeping the valuations very elevated. And so we'll see either one of two things happen. I think we're going to see actually a combination. We're going to see the undervalued cryptos really pumping hard. We're going to see the overvalued cryptos starting to drop hard. And a lot of the promises that these projects have not kept will get in line with the price, or I should say the price will get in line with the failed narratives. Because a narrative is only good for a short period of time. When you start chasing narratives and you constantly are changing, like for instance, Cardano, right? Oh, we have our own stable coin. It's going to be the best stable coin in the world. Nobody uses it. Oh, we're going to have 1 million transactions per second. They don't. We're going to have all of these apps on chain. They don't. We're going to get interoperability. It's still not there. Like after a while, people just ignore it. Right. And Cardano is just an example. There's a lot of other chains that do the same thing. The Dogecoin community. Oh, we're going to get integrated with, this. We're going to use for payments. Nothing has happened. We're going to increase the block time. Elon Musk is going to help us build out products for it. Nothing has been built on it. Right. And so this is where the new projects that come out that promise the world, and they have more capabilities and technologies than some of the legacy coins like Sui and Hyperliquid, these get such high valuations because people are hyped up by them. I mean, look at Hyperliquid's ticker name is literally hype. But the hype and the narrative, when it starts to be realized that it's all nonsense. Think about Solana. Oh, we're going to be the best AI crypto. We're going to have the most DeFi. We're going to have the most smart contracts. And all they created was meme coins, this cycle. And so now we're seeing the final stages of that meme coin fiasco and the Solana fiasco coming to an end, with the meme coin platforms trying to raise money because they have a failed business concept, or it was all based on fake narratives, right? All these celebrity coins are going to change the world. Like, explain to me how Huk2 coin is going to change the world, like Israel or Barstool coin. That's going to change the world. We're going to have an unbelievable future because of Barstool coin. It's like, what? And they all chose Solana. They didn't choose Ethereum. And I think a lot of this was because Ethereum was not hopping on that narrative. They kept continuing to build. They understood the payments. They understood DeFi. They understood stable coins. And they built that out. And Solana, instead, they focused on pump fun. And they have nothing else. And all the Solana fanboys, they're gone. Because I've been saying this for 7 months now on this channel, that Solana is built by and for the billionaire. Well, I've been saying that for years, but Solana doesn't have any narrative besides meme coins. And after January and February of this year, people were saying, no, Cryptoviser, you're wrong. They do have more technology. They do have more capabilities. Well, here we are many months later, and they still don't. It was all about the memes. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you guys think about the massive inflows that we are potentially going to be seeing moving into internet computer, moving into Ethereum. Let me know what you guys think down below. Give the video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you when I see you crypto on.